Yeah. Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join me, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Item number 3 is public comment. Will there be public comment? Yes, sir.
Joe Artis, 17 Bull Street.
How are you, Joe?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good.
Mr. Place. The parking on Bull Street has been switched from one side to the other, and the signposts have been placed on that side of the street. I'm curious. I've seen many people accidentally stumble into the posts that are on our side of the street without signs on them, and I look at them as a possible hazard. When will they be removed?
I didn't even know they were there.
No.
Exactly.
When they changed the location.
They put a new post on the opposite side and put signs on them, but because they have holes all the way up and down, sometimes they can be invisible.
That's just the hole. It's there, Joe. I have to talk to Jerry.
Yeah.
And I have to talk to Ricky.
And grind it down.
Yeah, yeah. I just made a note. Joe?
I'd appreciate it because I've seen people I've seen people walk into them accidentally with their shoulders and trip on them, so.
Sure. Yeah.
It looks like a hazard to me, so. Is the parking situation on the street itself situated?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll call and talk.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to speak briefly in the time of right about the dilemma shadowing Merry Crest Drive.
Bob, would you
Bob
state?
Marion, Thompson, Connecticut. I'm a trustee for Merry Crest Farm.
Go right ahead, Bob. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Are the people going to be able to speak when we get up to this?
I don't know why not.
I think while we're on the subject, when we get to it on here, while everybody's discussing it, the property owners and the butters should be able to speak.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, John.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of the owners, and along with Mr. Marion had some cogent comments to make, and I think that he should be heard in conjunction with the other owners, all of who have spoken up and have understood, I think, that he is some of his concern.
So would you like me to hold off everybody's comments for the time
Whatever the
being?
board feels comfortable doing,
Yeah.
but I think they should be heard.
I'd be willing to do that.
And we're discussing it at the same time, just
Yeah.
having everybody talking and never there.
I'd be certainly be happy to do that. Yep. I saw somebody else's hand, public comment. Yes, sir. Peter.
Yeah, Peter Benoit, 117 Woodside Street. Referring back to your minutes of last meeting, on page 4, number E, rehabilitation tax deferral program. I'm assuming that is for Dr. Abada's place.
Yes.
And what was the premise on which he purchased that location? Wasn't it for some kind of tax abatement or whatever, or a blight ordinance or whatnot?
Not to my knowledge, Doug, not to your knowledge. No.
We didn't see it until it...
No, we didn't see anything until the project was completed, Peter.
So there's nothing that was in the application or whatnot, and didn't he send something to you probably maybe 3 weeks ago or so?
Yeah, but that was way after the fact, so.
But he said...
No, he had the same package that he presented initially,
Okay.
so that was for reconsideration of it, and the board reconsidered and decided to uphold the initial decision.
So what was he looking for in terms of...
He was trying to get his property to be considered as a blight, which meets the criteria of the rehabilitation area. And based on both the building officials and also the planning director, they did not feel that it met the criteria.
So you didn't know anything about this based on the first application?
Not until the first application came.
So it was only the second one that he had sent in, did he make mention of the blight
No,
ordinance?
he probably tried to make through it, but that's not our purview. That's the purview of the building official and the planning director to decide whether it meets the criteria of the ordinance.
So, my question, I guess, is, so when he filed his first application,
We
was there
referred-
any mention at all about the blight ordinance?
I'm not sure. We referred it to them for this, for their...
So it must have came back to you, didn't it, though, Doug?
It did.
Oh,
But
it
it
did.
was on the basis that he wanted to reconsider it, to say, let's reconsider this based on it being a blighted property. And he made the same argument he made initially. And again, the board voted to uphold their initial decision.
So you had, Mr. Mayor, you had no discussions with him in advance with regard to this or whatnot?
No, none at all, Peter. No, none at all.
We went on a recommendation of planning, and the planning commission, which the ordinance says, the planning commission and the building official both stated that it wasn't a blighted property, and that's why we didn't approve that particular part of the ordinance, because we sent it to the planning commission, and the building official, and both denied it, they said it wasn't a blighted property. So that's why we-
Normally, speaking to, and Doug, maybe you can add to it, is when they apply on a project like that, they apply for the project on its onset, not to wait until after the project is completed. So that was, that was...
So it was after the fact, is what you're saying?
Further public eye. Gloria, how are you?
Thank you. Lori Marion, 27 Foreign Street. I have a couple of questions tonight, but I'm not sure if I should raise them now or raise them before the special town meeting. They pertain to the vote on the special town meeting. So I'm not quite sure. If I'll be afforded time to do that
What we're
prior
going
to...
to do, Gloria, is we go into the town meeting. We normally would have a motion on the floor, open it up for discussion.
Okay.
Yep, and I certainly will make sure that you're recognized.
Okay, thank you.
And I saw another hand over there someplace.
He was just waving at me.
Oh! Hello.
I'm just giving signs over there, we have seats available. That's all.
Oh! Thank you all. Item number 4 is approval of minutes. What would be your pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve minutes as presented.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried. Item number 5 is petitions and communications. Anything, Doug?
I don't have anything.
No. Item 6 is reports of standing committees, general government committee. Alma?
The clarification, we're still waiting to hear from Chief Hayes, so we can put a meeting together. The employee evaluations, we do have information on that, but we will be scheduling a general government meeting after December 3rd so that we can put that together. As far as responsible ordinance, responsible employer ordinance, economic development, funding grants management, those are still in the researching stage with the Board of Finance.
Thank you very much. Questions? Alma? Item 7 is reports of special committees. Item A is Wheelabrator Contract Review Committee. Doug, anything?
We're still waiting to hear back from Wheelbrader.
Yeah. Item B is the Charter Revision Study Committee.
That will be again after the December 3rd.
Item C is the Putnam Facility Study Group meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
December 3rd.
December 3rd.
Not December 3rd, Yeah, I know. That's a busy night.
You guys never leave.
For sleeping
Item 8 is staff reports, economic and community development, Delpha. I saw you here, yes.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm passing out the latest report that we just had done about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The one you have in your packet, we have quite a few updates on that since the report was done last week. So you can take a look at that at your leisure. We have one project 100% done and the others are in phases as to awards being awarded, contracts being awarded. As you can see, out of 21 applicants, we have assigned project numbers 6 of them, because many of them are income ineligible, or they don't have the 15% equity in the home, or it's a vacant property, or they're they're not current on their taxes. They have to be current on both their town taxes and any WPCA taxes. So that's my report under redevelopment, along with the municipal brownfield pilot project, which is Cargill Falls Mill. The owners and the development consultant are completing the CHAMPS 4. You remember their CHAMPS 3 was denied. This was an application for submitting on December 16th. The governing board of the State Office of Historic Preservation has approved the nomination request to be placed on the National Register for Historic Places. So we await the updated abatement and disposal plan from Eagle Environment for the hazardous materials and cleanup demolition. On the Palo property, the former Putnam Foundry, final contractual documentation is being signed by the consulting firm, and the town of Putnam still has to go through the affirmation of receipt of state ethics laws summary and the consulting agreement affidavit. We're still waiting for the affidavit from CME. Once completed, a timeline will be determined for the environmental services for lead, asbestos, and hazardous materials and cleanup. Economic and community development, 88 Main Street. Rose Construction has hired a new crew leader to focus directly on that project. We have detailed experience to oversee. The finished work is beginning. If you've taken a look at it within the last week, it has, the top has been completely done with a replicated historic trim. Windows are supposed to be going in this week. They've been working over the weekend on the limestone facade on the foundation. The anticipated completion of the project will be mid-December. The proposed economic development investment fund, as you know, we've been requesting a fund for the purpose of enhancing economic development. And right now, I think it's been reported that it's in the Board of Finance. It will be tabled to the next meeting. They've asked us a few questions. We're going to try and find out some of the answers to those questions. Under STEEP, all projects have been completed. This is under the 3 small community projects. We have about $9,800 remaining in project funds, and we're looking for some permanent kiosks fabricated out of metal locally for our story walk. Connecticut Main Street Center Preservation of Place Program. Pre-application was submitted for $10,000 in funding to undertake documentation of historic and architecturally significant buildings in our downtown area. The goal of the project would be to support the preparation of the nomination on the National Register of Historic Places for downtown. This would be an advantage for property owners and developers to take some of the tax abatement historic credits for any rehabilitation. It's totally a voluntary program. There's no mandatory, even if there's just an overlay on this area. I have received a call from the executive director of Connecticut Main Street. As you may remember, we have gotten 4 consecutive grants for Connecticut Main Street, and this is kind of doing the checkoff list. Both of our, and Don and I were talking about this today, both are checking off items on our plan of conservation and development. So we will be going to the Planning Commission to have some of these plans adopted. And so the executive director had said he thinks it's better use of the Connecticut Main Street's money, and he referred me, and he actually made a phone call to Mary Dunn from the State Historic Preservation Office, because we were going to do it in 2 components. One, to have a survey done and have all the buildings recognized, and then to go ahead and make the application to the State Park Services. So Mary Dunn has taken all of our information, and she said that we have a very good chance of getting the money through SHPO. So, and that way we can have both phases done at once. Under our industrial park, New England Plasma, for its 6,000 square foot expansion, has applied for their building permit, and I just understand that they were awarded their building permit. Foster Corporation for their a potential subdivision for Lot 19. We were going to try and get that through December, but their Foster Corporation is still working on some of the building plans with J&D Civil Engineering, so they want to wait until January. Meanwhile, the project will go through for the sale of the 9.2 acres. Rental Tool, the 17,000 square foot building, they have acquired the appropriate building permit, and work is being done on that project as we speak. And there was an open house held on the Park Tribute Center in our industrial park this past Sunday. On the community garden, final garden cleanup was held on Saturday, November 5th, with plans being designed for the spring season. We just ordered the fencing to be put up, and that should have some activity in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be removing 2 trees for the expansion of that garden. But we have to have discussions with the gardeners, and we do want to replace some of those trees in that area. Achieve Mentor Project, I attended a 3-day conference in Boston through the Northeast District Department of Health Sustainable Communities Grant. There were about 450 workshops offered, and I attended those for programmatic education regarding tobacco and alcohol policy, community-built environment, food policy advancement, as well as other community development seminars. Ongoing projects, with the redistricting of Wyndham Arts, I have asked them to post a commission for an artist to do the painting of the waterfall scene on the stairs to the Putnam Bank, and this will be to further the documentation of the wayfinding grant, which was a recommendation. I have attended the Connecticut Main Street Center placemaking workshop. We do have a lease to purchase on the Cargill Bank building, the one right next to the courthouse. I am working on some follow-up grants for the Bradley Theater project. I attended the Walmart ribbon cutting. I have read through 2 business plan reviews for some citizens in Putnam, and attended the tourism board meeting. Let's see what else. We have 2 new businesses coming in, an auto dealership at the former Plaza Pontiac that is a lease to purchase, and AutoZone application for their build-out is in the building office. And I think that's it.
Very good, Doug. Busy times. Questions of Doug or anyone?
Just one question on the rehab grant. I think it's 21 and 12 applicants don't qualify, so we're down to 8 people at this point that right now qualify. Is that a correct statement?
Yes. Wherever they've been assigned a number,
Yeah.
they are qualifying.
Okay, and we spent $108,000 roughly. What's that, 300,000 that grant?
Right.
Is that counting the
That's right.
18% administration costs in that? Or,
No, you have to back out.
Back out the
Yeah, and I think
18%.
it's 22%.
Okay. So you think you get that money spent down quick enough?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And that comes from our consultant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a couple. The 12 Foundry Taylor property, if that's sold, is there any reimbursement for any of this money that's spent there?
We put a lien on the property.
We do have one. Okay. And on the proposed economic investment fund, is that the one we discussed here where we put a $5,000 limit on it? Okay. And the First Fridays, you know anything to do with First Fridays?
PBA.
The vendors.
That is-
Do vendors get permits?
Oh, yes.
They all have permits? Anybody selling jewelry in the street or anything like that, or the street vendors?
If they're a vending permit, and that is going through the PBA, through Dot Burnworth, to my knowledge, and I'm not part of that permitting part, that goes through the chief of police, and if they are required to have a vending permit, they pull one.
Because I thought anybody that sold anything in this town that came in during events had to have a vending permit. Because that's what we put forward on the zoning commission.
It's supposed to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to check that with Putnam Business Association.
Can we just see if they've been getting
Sure.
it? Because I've got a couple complaints from some business owners that they didn't think they were. So that's it, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything further, Doug? Or- Thank you, everybody. Item B, in your packet, you have a building official report. As you can see, there's been quite a lot of activity last month. Item C is a town planner's report. Is Don here? Don, there you are.
Yeah, last time we said we couldn't hear me up there, so I'm back here. Okay. Ongoing work, 3 projects in particular. Quinebaug Regional Technology Park for the YMCA. Provide a review of the comments on subdivision plan, bridge and access road to Kennedy Drive plan. Planning Commission. Planning Commission approved the subdivision plan pursuant to regulations and waivers and recommended the bridge and access road plan pursuant to section 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes. That was on the 10-2. Develop draft timeline for completion of construction of YMCA subdivision roadway access road and bridge. 10-3 meetings with project engineers relative to timeline and construction details. Review working drawings for YMCA site plan to be before the zoning commission at 11:20. You have the full site plan application before the zoning commission. Zoning regulations, comprehensive update and rewrite. Draft update to close open space residential development subdivision section relative to related OSRD subdivision update to subdivision regulations to discuss with town council. Twice, actually, it's twice now, actually the 3rd time. The town council since then to review portions of the entire draft, the comprehensive update and rewrite. Make changes to the portions of the draft and discuss with town council. Plan of conservation and development update. Minor updates to working draft document. As requested by the Planning Commission at the 9/23 meeting, develop a draft timeline for the POCD update. The Commission approved at the 10/28 meeting. Requested by the Planning Commission at 10/28 meeting to begin a process. 2, as referenced in the statute, establish a POCD committee consisting of representatives of town departments, commissions, and boards play a crucial part in the decision-making process, physical development of funding projects and programs, the establishment of the plan of conservation development update. Developed and distributed a memo along with the approved timeline for those town departments, commissions, and board requesting that they appoint representatives to the committee, which I understand the select will take that on the 2nd meeting next month. Appointments. Okay. Other projects and tasks. Perform review and comment and notifications from the Connecticut Siting Council relative to the Light and Powers Interstate Reliability Project, Algonquin Gas and Natural Gas Facilities Upgrade Project. We put several. Yeah, they're very good about submitting updates. Keep in touch with us well. That represents the data group relative to representative work to establish the Geographic Information System, GIS, with the town. Plans through the town's water and upgrade project along with water, sewer, and storm water GIS layers. Provide assistance to the Community Economic Development Coordinator relative to time frame and detail necessary in the process to submit and approve development plans, the subdivision special permit for the New Lot Industrial Park, which Delta had mentioned. Draft 11 is Community DEP updating the progress of the town limits for general permit for the next really stormwater ordinance and extensively the storm drains. Also, at the request of the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District, write a short write-up about the town's recent MS4 actions of storm drain extending to the town's recent adoption of municipal stormwater management ordinance, which they will include the things where the basin partnership partners in action report. Provide information to Blue Management relative to the proposal to install a fuel cell at Walmart for electricity generation. Review the associated proposal. Provide sensitive data corresponding to social service district, town administrator. Research grant, land use permit, associated property. The reports on 126 School Street. I don't know why that ended up in the report. It was really 465 School Street for the developers, landowners, requesting updated permit status. Attended the 2013 Southern American Planning Association Conference on 10/17 to 19.
Questions of Don, anyone?
On the Quinebaug Regional Technical Park, you had a chance to look over all the plans and the roadways and the access and the soil line, flow lines and everything. Have you come up with a cost associated with that project? Is there a cost associated with that project? Have you seen any costs associated with that project? In other words, what's it going to cost us to put that infrastructure in there? Is there a cost estimate?
We're getting those costs from,
Excuse me?
we are getting those costs from
So we don't have a cost estimate what it's gonna cost us at this point. Is that a correct statement?
the developing costs of the engineer. We don't have it. I don't have that figure right now.
So we're ready to move forward, the YMCA is ready to move forward with the building, and there's no cost associated with the infrastructure that we have to put in to get the vehicle traffic and get the water and the sewer to the YMCA and the building lots, and there's no cost associated with it?
There's several grants and projects available out there, funding sources. We're looking, we get funding sources, we're also looking at cost estimate along with the project engineers.
Okay, then I'll address my question to the town administrator. We still haven't come up with costs associated with it that you were supposed to give us at this meeting? Doug?
I was kind of tied up with getting the vans organized for this issuance this week, and I also was in the process of closing on the $1.2 million loan, so I sort of had some time constraints to put that financing together.
Well, I have a hard time, I'm not trying to throw stones at anybody, but this project's been going on for 4 years, and we haven't got a cost associated with it, and we want to move forward with a project that we don't even know where the money's coming from. It's not secured, and at some point, something's going to come up, and it's going to have to come back to the people, or there's going to be issues. And I think it dragged on long enough. I think I won't be here in another week, couple of weeks, but I would strongly suggest, especially you, Tony, coming in, that you get a handle on this, because there's issues that are coming up that we don't have no costs associated with it. As Board of Finance, Chairman of the Board of Finance, you know you need costs associated with, and we haven't got it. 4 years down the road, we haven't got it. So I think this is an issue that's going to have to be dealt with in a real serious manner, in a very short manner, because the YMCA is putting their plans forward, and the roads, everything's been engineered, but no costs associated, and with no grants in hand, we don't even know if we can put in the superstructure, the structure to get to the YMCA, 4 years down the road. Thank you.
We don't even own the land yet, right? We still
I'll discuss that in executive session.
Okay. Well, we still don't, at this point, we don't own the land.
That's correct.
I got a question to Don also. This has to do with the zoning regs that you're working on, and plan of conservation. Are there any changes coming, or possible changes, to the commercial property in East Button? The C4 section, the C4
Not
district.
directly, we're not looking at changing the map at this point.
So there's going to be no changes going to the commercial property? Because I know in the beginning, when we started on it, there was some talk of moving it away from there and down here, and
We haven't finalized.
limiting out there.
Yeah, I know that the POCD did have some recommendations for doing some zoning changes, but we're not anticipating zoning changes in the map, so
Okay.
we're going to get tax changes. Maybe we need the districts something a little more.
I just want to know if they're going to change any of the commercial property out there to make it non-conforming for commercial.
At this point, we haven't talked about changing the map.
Okay. All right, thank you, Don.
On the Walmart project, a fuel cell, is that just a gas generator?
So the gas generator, it's actually, it generates, it's like it offers more like a battery. It generates electricity on site.
Okay, gas fired.
Yeah. It's not gas fired, it's an interaction with gas. It's not really gas fired per se.
Hydrogen cells use hydrogen.
Hydrogen.
Yeah. Yep, so, looking at your proposed timeline, if I'm reading this correctly, we're looking at submitting, we're looking at submitting it, what, about 2 months ahead of the absolute deadline on the POCD? Because I think the last one was August 20th.
It's August 22nd, yes.
Yeah, nice.
I think it would be good if we can coincide it with the fiscal year. That's what I'm hoping for.
Thank you, Don. Doug, town administrator's report.
Yeah.
Oh, hurry up. Okay.
Yes.
We have about 2 minutes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we got about another minute, I think. motion to temporarily recess to town meeting?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Sarah, would you please read the call of the meeting, please?
The Town of Putnam notice a special town meeting November 18, 2013. The electors and citizens qualified to vote in the town meeting of the Town of Putnam, Connecticut are hereby notified and warned that a town meeting of said town will be held in Daniel S. Rivera's Welcoming Chambers, Town Hall, 126 Church Street, Putnam, Connecticut, on Monday, November 18, 2013, at 7:30 in the evening for the following purposes. 1, to choose a moderator for said meeting. 2, to determine the wishes of those present and eligible to vote at a town meeting of the Town of Putnam upon a proposed amendment to the Town of Putnam retirement plan, allowing the town clerk to buy back time under the plan for the period she served as town clerk from December 1995 to December 2000. 3, to determine the wishes of those present eligible to vote at town meeting of the Town of Putnam upon the following resolution. Resolved, that the Town of Putnam appropriate the sum of $20,000 from the capital and non-recurring account to pay the town's share with interest of the planned contribution to the town clerk for the period from 1995 to 2000. Dated at Putnam, Connecticut, this 4th day of November 2013, Town of Putnam, Richard C. Place Mayor, Renee T. Lasco, Richard A. Loomis, Alma D. Maury, Norman D. Sinay, John S. Smith Jr., Owen A. Carr, which Board of Selectmen, attest Sarah J. Sinay, town clerk.
First order of business is to choose a moderator for said meeting.
Mr. Place, be the moderator.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Motion to close nominations.
I have a second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. All those in favor of Richard Place being the moderator for said meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item 2 is to determine the wishes of those present to and eligible to vote at town meeting of Town of Putnam upon a proposed amendment to the Town of Putnam retirement plan, allowing the town clerk to buy back time under the plan for the period she served as town clerk from December 1995 to December 2000. I need again, I know we talked a little earlier, I need a motion on the floor to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. I don't know who said second over there. Doty? Yep. A motion and a second. Now open it for discussion. Discussion. Yes, Gloria.
I just have a...
Gloria, state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gloria Marion, 27 Florence Street. I just have a couple of questions about the situation when Sarah was employed from 1995 to 2000. I don't know if who I should address the question to.
Well, address it to the moderator and you'll get an answer. How's that?
Okay. One of my questions is, was she afforded the opportunity to participate in the retirement plan at that time from 1995 to 2000? Was she afforded the, and what I mean by that is, did she opt out? In other words, was she afforded the opportunity to participate in the plan and then decided not to for those years, and then came on in 2000 to present?
Doug, you're shaking your head.
She was not afforded the opportunity to join from 1995 through 2000.
And she wasn't afforded the opportunity to join based on
Her being an elected official. Elected officials were not covered under the retirement plan at that point.
So from 2000 to 2013, that changed.
And in December, whatever the date was of the town meeting in 2005, she was afforded the opportunity to join the retirement plan at that point.
With that
And
said,
going forward.
And going forward, okay. With that said, how would it affect prior municipal employees who were not afforded the opportunity to opt into the retirement based on either their classification as a municipal employee or their union contract, whether or not they held a union position or not, to present. I know presently we have a number of paraprofessionals who are afforded the opportunity, who prior to a certain date, and it goes way back, were not afforded the opportunity. Now they are, and they have the opportunity to opt out. We have very few that have opted into the retirement. So my concern is, if we vote in this direction tonight, does it set a precedent for those that were never afforded the opportunity to also buy back their time and calculate it to present? Or for those who are presently covered but opt out and want to 15 years down the road decide they too want to buy back that time?
There's a distinction there. One is that if you're part of a collective bargaining unit, any benefits that apply under the retirement plan would have to be collective bargaining. So that would be the one distinction in the case here. So if you're part of a bargaining unit and you wanted to buy back time, that would have to be a matter of collective bargaining, and so that would be a distinction from a person who's not part of the any collective bargaining unit.
Right, correct. But what I'm saying is, if there was a group of people that are presently covered by a union in the same capacity as when they were not covered by a union, would they be afforded the same opportunity to buy back that municipal time prior to becoming unionized? In other words, if you have paraprofessionals in the town that have been retired, let's say 20 years, and prior to their retirement they weren't afforded the ability to buy into the retirement because they didn't have that ability, and we do this vote tonight and they say, well, I was never afforded it and I didn't have a union, whatever, and I'd like to buy back those years. Does that set a precedent? And I'm not quite sure that what you're saying, Doug, about as part of the negotiations. I think that once the employee becomes part of the union, that the state comes in to determine whether or not they are automatically part of the town's retirement system. So I'm not quite sure that it has something to do with whether or not they're in a union. I may be wrong, but I'm not quite sure about that. But my question is this: if they were not part of that and held that position, and then later in their position they were afforded the retirement and wanted to buy back those years, would they in fact be allowed to do that?
That was all this by collective bargaining over the years.
But I'm not talking about collective bargaining. I'm talking about the years that the person was not in collective bargaining. I'm talking about...
You're talking about somebody that may have worked here in the past.
I think the way this...
I'm talking about, if you do the vote, will it set a precedent, and will you have people saying, yeah, I wasn't an elected official, however, would this be a challenge somewhere down the road? Would it be a challenge that there are people that have retired? I can think of some. I happen to be one. When I retired from the state of Connecticut, I put in for municipal service, and it was rejected because I never paid into the system. However, before I left, we had joined the union. So, I'm just trying to stop a mess, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it's really been looked into it all sides. I know that we now have paraprofessionals that have opted out to not take it. So, and they're young, I'm sure, and they're not thinking retirement, but 15 years down the road, maybe they will be thinking that and say, hey, you know what? I opted out too. I don't want it. But now I do. And it's 15 years later, and do they come back to the town and say, I'll pay my share, but you guys got to pay your share? And we have 37 paraprofessionals now, and only 7 of them have opted in.
What I can remember, Gloria, is, there was a special vote for Sarah. It didn't encompass anybody else at that particular time.
Correct.
So Sarah was the one that was, isolated. It was an isolated situation where I think we realized in today's day and age that even elected officials deserve benefits of some
Oh, sure.
sort that are long-term
Absolutely.
elected officials.
But I'm just saying, if you're amending the retirement, then yes, I mean, I understand that this vote is for Sarah tonight, and congratulations on your retirement, and this is nothing personal. What I'm trying to say is, what kind of a can of worms are we opening? Can we say, we just did this for one individual, one elected official?
She never opted out either.
Right, the opting is different.
What I mean by opt out is that she didn't pay in.
She wasn't given a choice at that time. Yeah. If you choose, when you opt out, that implies that you, as of that day, have the option of joining the pension plan or not joining the pension plan.
Well, that was my question.
If you opt out, period.
Right.
At issue here, and I don't think that can be challenged. Well, I can think of legal reasons it would be challenged, but none of which you're talking about. We're not going to get into incompetency, but as long as you're competent to choose, that choice stays. This is in the situation where that choice didn't exist at that period in time because she was not permitted to be part of the plan.
But I think...
She wasn't permitted to be part of the plan because she was an elected official? Is that the question? Is that the answer, rather?
But are there other employees that were in an elected position, and I'm just throwing figures, but...
Officials.
Elected...
officials that may want to buy back at the same time.
Are there any that were opening Pandora's box? And I think that's a great...
And I mean, it's nothing personal. It really isn't. Retirement's great. But I'm just trying to stop something that might create a problem. And what I thought about was when I did read about the paraprofessionals, was the first thing that came to my mind.
Well, is there anyone... Sorry.
No,
is there anyone other than the town clerk who's a full-time elected official? I don't think so.
No, there was a full-time elected official before, wasn't there down there?
Before I came on board?
Yeah.
In 99?
Before Sarah. Could somebody prior to Sarah in the same position come back and...
Okay.
How long was Lillian here?
Forever.
Well, the thing is, I think this only pertains to this particular instance because as of the date in 2005 when Sarah was allowed to come on board, that applied only, the change in the pension plan, retirement plan only applied in that particular instance. And I think the language that you're being asked tonight would only apply in this particular instance as to this, Sarah being that elected official. So it's going to be narrowly construed in terms of the action today.
But why would it not? But why could another resolution
Possibly,
not
but
apply?
then you'd have to go through the process again if that were the case to come to the retirement plan, and they'd make the decision based on that circumstance. But at this time, you're dealing with one particular circumstance, and the circumstance related to her being allowed as an elected official in 2005 to participate, and then she was not given the opportunity to buy back her time from 2005 back to 2000.
Just to clarify where we are as well, Doug, this is the first time that I can remember since I've been on the board that this request has come forward. It hasn't been something that's been brought up in the past, rehashed and being brought up again. It's a request that was initiated a short while ago, and
the only other circumstance was an issue to some individuals of a collective bargaining agreement that did not enroll during the appropriate window period in January 1989. They have a particular provision in here that relates to those individuals, and they were given a one-time opportunity. It was not considered a buyback for provisions of this retirement plan at that point, and it did not become a part of the collective bargaining process. It was a standalone agreement between those individuals, one time only, and they had the opportunity to buy back their time, but it was not considered to set a precedent for the purposes of the retirement clause.
Nick, sir.
Well, I just,
Nick Longo.
The historical background was that creating that position, allowing her to get a pension, came up on the basis of every town clerk in the area was part of the plan. So I think that in terms of the emphasis, and sometimes your memory can be faulty, I think that just the feeling was that one, because of that elected official prohibition, that it was good to get it on the table to get this issue about town clerks and the focal point of the community that they had. And so I think the feeling was at that point, the emphasis was this, allow this to take place in Putnam with the town clerk. And I don't think much attention was paid to the buyback at that point for a variety of reasons, but not intentional. So I don't think there was any judgment made, we should or we shouldn't allow a buyback. Just get this position into our pension situation and get it into place. And now I think the appropriate time, obviously I'm prejudiced, but the appropriate time now is to go into the situation and say, should we allow the buyback? And obviously I would be in favor of it. But I think the way the whole situation arose, it was sort of like, I can recall it, I'm certainly not a major force, but I remember talking to the mayor and so forth. Let's correct this unusual situation which occurred throughout northeastern Connecticut. And at the meeting at that night, we presented a list of all the town clerks in Wyndham County, all of whom were on the palm, and it was a new idea. And I don't think the buyback situation really was on the table as it is now. And therefore, I can understand why they wasn't treated then, but I think it should be treated now.
Further questions?
Just to make myself clear, it's nothing personal, but
I understand.
when I read it and I had questions about whether or not somebody else could come in and say, hey, you know, you afforded this person, da-da-da-da.
There's only one other circumstance that I can remember, Dick, and I don't know if you go back and I'm not sure of what had happened. I'm not sure, Sarah, you were here at the time, but Norma Martell.
Yes.
Was the person that I had in the back of my mind. And Norma, there was something to do with the pension, Norma wanting to buy back time, and she wasn't allowed to buy back time back then. And I don't
Was she
remember.
elected?
No, she was. No.
She wasn't elected.
Is that what it, yeah.
Right, it wasn't a prohibited.
Right. Okay. Good. Very good. Further discussion? I'll call the vote. Hearing no other further questions or concerns, all those in favor of the allowing Sarah the opportunity, the town clerk, the opportunity to buy back time under the plan for the period of that she served town clerk from December of 1995 to December of 2000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Item 3 is to determine the wishes of those present and eligible to vote at the town meeting of the town of Putnam upon the following resolution. Resolved that the town of Putnam appropriate the sum of $20,000 from the capital non-reoccurring account to pay for the town share with interest of a planned contribution for the town clerk for the period from 1995 to 2000. What would be your pleasure? So moved. A motion, do I have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
Motion to adjourn.
And a motion on the floor to adjourn the town meeting at 7:48 p.m. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
Motion to go back into our regular selectors meeting.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Town Administrator's report.
Thank you. You had my copy of my report. As I alluded to earlier, a lot of my time has been spent dealing with bond anticipation notes. We've completed proceedings for the sale of $11.5 million, or almost $11.6 million of bands. We're going to do it in 2 lots. One will be approximately $3.8 million at 0.65% interest rate. And that basically will cover us on the sewer treatment plant project until that project is complete. And then we will close on the permanent financing through USDA, pay off the bond anticipation notes, and that aspect of the project will be complete. Lot B is a combination of a number of different things, and it's almost $7.8 million. And It's at 0.7% interest, which is better than we received last year on our bands. We were quite happy with that, particularly the fact that we're not a rated town. We don't have the rating for any of the rating agencies, Moody's or Fitch or Standards & Poor's, S&P. And so, as I say, Lot A, principal interest due February 20th, and we're hoping that the sewer plant, and we're pretty sure that the sewer plant project will be completed by that date. And Lot B, principal, will be, interest and principal will be due on November 25th. And so, as I stated, the first lot covers the sewer treatment plant project, and the second lot would be the water line relining and replacement project, the Mangy Street and Building project, the sewer lift station project, and the high school project. Working with bond counsel, we did a certain amount of calculation in terms of what was going to be required from the period of November 2013 through the end of the November 2014, and that's where we came up with almost the $7.8 million required to temporarily finance the ongoing work that's going to be done on those various projects. The High School Building Committee, I attend the meetings of the committee, and to date the committee has awarded the work for the survey in wetlands delineation of the property, the hazmat remediation survey work, and at their last meeting they awarded the RFP for the commissioning agent. And the commissioning agent is the agent of the town and the school board related to the various electrical and HVAC systems being installed in the property. They're moving along, and the architect committee will be going to the State Bureau of School Facilities in December with their preliminary schematics, and this will lead up to the during the general session of the General Assembly starting in February, I believe. That will eventually lead to us getting the approval from the state on the reimbursement for the high school project. So the high school project is moving along. Full Street parking, we have another pre-trial conference scheduled for November 20th, it's that Wednesday. And barriers have been removed from the pilot parking arrangement, and parking is allowed as before the pilot was in place for 30 days. That's the 30 days of the pilot period. Cargo Falls Mill Development arranged an intent meeting with mill developer and Senator Williams, and we discussed the various potential funding opportunities for the project. They're looking at a significant amount of money through the Urban Act program at the state. And also we are working with CONDOT and to see if we can work into the Pompey Street Bridge project the possibility of incorporating an intersection reconfiguration, which would basically add a turning lane on both the southbound, one of the southbound lanes of Kennedy Drive and also the northbound lane of Kennedy Drive at the intersection of Pomfret Street. And this will benefit the project because right now, if they are at a certain traffic classification, and if they didn't get this changed, there'd be some problems in terms of getting a state permit to allow traffic to come in and out of the project. So they're hoping that it can be worked out. WPCA, I attended the meeting just this Saturday. We had a meeting with Thompson Town and WPCA officials. They are interested in discussing the possibility of and the implications if Thompson were to tie into bringing their sewage to the Putnam facility. Right now, they're under basically a state mandate to do improvements to their sewer treatment plant, and it's basically, I think, it was for phosphorus improvements. So they're looking at the long-term implications that the cost and the operation of their plant over a 20 to 30-year period, and what it would be if they just closed down that plant and brought all their sewage into the town of Putnam. One of the things we're particularly concerned about is if we have the capacity, and based on working with our engineers, we believe that we have more than enough capacity to even handle any the current flow from Thompson and any increased flow that they might bring in from Thompson. We are still, and we're hoping that this is going to happen this week, that we're going to get the issuance of the notice of temporary diversion permit for the 7 new wells, and that would start the 30-day clock running on any requirement in terms of anybody that would request to make comments on that temporary diversion permit. And as I stated earlier, I've been working with our bond counsel, our town attorney, and other officials in terms of closing the final loan on the Wellfields project, totaling $1.2 million. So that basically puts that Wellfield project to rest. The only thing we need to do is get the water coming out of those wells. And hopefully with the temporary diversion permit, within 30 days, we'll have the final permit for that, and the water will start. We'll start being able to draw the water out of it. The Dempsey Regional Center, the surplus property. I went to both the Planning Commission and also the feedback from the Facility Study Committee, and we have notified the state that basically on the November 3rd, whatever the date was, we had requested the extension that at this time the town was no longer considering purchasing the Dempsey Center surplus property. I have been told by the state through emails that they will now follow the following process, which is advertise the property for sale, which they would request for proposals, and they would conduct public tours of the property. I believe that will probably be a 30-60 day process. And at the end of that, should the state accept an offer on any RFP that comes in that was different from the state's offer to the town, by state statute, they're required to come back to the town to match that offer on the same terms and conditions. And at that time, the town will then have 45 days to make a decision on the offer. And again, we always have the option that if we decide that we should acquire the property, that we can have a conveyance bill pursued by the General Assembly. And I believe that completes my report.
Very good, Doug. Questions of Doug, anyone?
Doug,
Yes.
on the bonding issue, I know I asked you before, but I'm going to ask you again. Basically, we're looking at around $32 million worth of bonding that we have right now on the books.
We have more.
Well, more, but I mean, that, we got to add another 7 to that? That 32 million?
I was going to go into this at the time we were discussing the library project, but if you like, I can hand this out now.
I just feel that we're going to run into problems with bonding more money than that the auditors would allow us, because I checked into it before and I asked you that question before, and I was concerned about going over the allotted amount the town should go over.
Why don't I
bring it up
have
at another time?
You want to do it now?
Actually, I was going to make a suggestion also. I have a question for you, Doug. We're moving into an executive session here shortly. Is there any way we could move the executive session to after C? We have a bunch of residents out here for this Mary Crest Drive thing, and I think we should keep here any longer.
Hey,
We'll move the executive session.
Yeah, that's a given.
They don't have to go on the hallway or
You
whatever.
want to take this up later?
Yeah, I think that if we can move this along and, you know.
But are y'all, you done? You done? Can I speak?
You got 5 seconds.
I understand we do not share the building official any longer with Thompson.
That's correct.
Where's that truck?
It's going to be coming back to the town.
Back in the back?
Right.
Okay. Question, thank you.
You are.
Doug, on that, the water, the wells be open up, the magnesium treatment is going to be available at that point?
No, it was not dependent on us having the manganese treatment building built. So that, the WPCA has awarded to go ahead to, CME has been basically our consulting engineer on anything related to the well fields. They have decided to extend the work related to the manganese treatment to the CME. I just notified them of to proceed to start to get the design work done on the manganese treatment.
So we can run the wells without treatment?
We can run the wells. We have to be careful in terms of the manganese, because when we start drawing more water out of those 7 wells, we're going to start increasing the manganese that comes out. That's part of that process. So we just have to, massage how we take the water out of the wells. I think it primarily comes out of the gravel.
Yeah.
That one, as opposed to the gravel. So.
Doug, can we back up to the building official?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
He's on part-time as per our budget. And he's going to be provided a truck as a full-time building official up in Thompson, so our truck comes back to us. We also going to have a conversation with the town of Pomfret. Right now, it's a 3-town share of that truck. We bought the truck. The other towns are sharing in the maintenance and the gas provision for gas. So now that the situation has changed, we're going to be bringing the truck back to
Good. Further questions of Doug? Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Item 10 is unfinished business. I'm going to ask that we reserve item A to the end of our meeting.
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Yep.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item B is smoke-free municipal property. Is there anything further or new?
You've got the Recreation Commission meeting minutes. That's the
I haven't had a chance to
Oh,
look at
there
it.
it is.
Linda Garcia and Michael LaRochelle about adopting a smoke-free or municipal outdoor space campaign. The motion was made to accept the campaign as outlined in the draft commission. And so that is the
That's done?
policy that was adopted by the Recreation Commission.
So that's it.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
Good talking to you, okay?
Nobody's gotta go get the sign.
Well, that's all right, we can, the rec commission will do that.
Item C is Mary Crest Drive. And Doug, maybe I'll turn it over to you to give us an overview, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
From the, when this issue was first brought to the town, we started to do some research in terms of various things. And it was decided that based on the recommendation of the Public Works Director, that maybe we should do a survey of the budding landowners and property owners. And Denise has conducted that survey, and the results of that survey are included in your packet. And Denise is in better shape to be able to describe what was the outcome of the survey.
Basically, everyone, all of the abutters were against the change for several reasons, affecting their business. We also disapproved an expansion of Fastenal with a loading dock and a paved driveway which goes out onto Mary Crest, so it would be very hard for tractor trailers to make that kind of U-turn to get up there, and then they're in the wrong position for the loading dock. Same thing with the restaurant. Mr. Marion's here. He's the only one I did not hear from.
Nick, I'll start with you and
Well,
talk to Bob.
Just to be clear, I think, I think I have changed my feeling in terms of the survey that she did and the talking with all of the property owners in the area, not all of them. But I do think that they made a very strong case for a matter of concern. Actually, the volume of protest proves the concern for the whole location. I mean, if they were all sort of passive and nobody maybe get excited about it, then you'd say, well, maybe it's not that important. But I do, I've talked to a couple of them, and particularly Mr. Willett and so forth, and I think we talked about the map and so forth. So if it were for me at this point, sounds like a reversal, I would be agreeable with the property owners not to make it one way. But I would take that enthusiasm and that response to say that based on the little information I had and understanding that sector, that there is a strong case for altering the entry from going east on Mary Crest Drive so that it wouldn't be a major change. But there seems to me on the map that was finished, by Steve, there would be enough room to change the line. And so if I were coming east on Mary Crest Drive and I came perpendicular to 244 instead of on a slant, I would have not a perfect visualization, but I would have a much better look from cars heading west. And I think that would be worthwhile in having not a lot of space, but based on the map which I got was that I think there'd be room to alter the entryway and make the entry from Mary Crest Drive onto 44 almost at a 90-degree angle. So, and I actually physically drove up there to take a look. So if I'm on Mary Crest Drive and I swing a little bit to the right, I now can look this way and I can look that way, and I won't be obstructed by the social house and, and that area. So, again, for whatever it's worth, and I guess I'm a culprit originally brought the matter up, I reversed positions. I do support the property owners, but I am feeling that it's very like the town and the traffic people to check a look and see if there's some adaptation that can be made that will accomplish the result without disrupting everybody in the area.
Bob Marion, I know you had raised your hand earlier, and we gave you
Well, now we know who the culprit is. Guy wants to ruin the vehicle access at the family road. Anyway, that's a bad idea. On the Marycrest Farm deed, the road was in place in 1839, 175 years ago. It's been untouched to this day, as far as I know. And it probably was there 250 years ago, because we found we found tools and stuff on the farm that was dated in the 1700s. And it belonged to a family named Eliak and Sawyer. And that couple square miles there was known as Sawyer's District. Just doing like, you know. So it's got some historic value as well. You know, and they don't take kindly to outsiders meddling in affairs on a peaceful country road. You know? And it's always been a peaceful country road.
That's because you lived on it, Bob.
Right. Now, 50 years ago, Nick was talking about that crossover down, which used to be Mel's Auto Body. I remember a stop sign there and a crossover 50 years ago. And it's still used to this day. You can tell by the dirt's all churned up. Back in those days, you just oiled the dirt. So the oil and the sand and the chipped stone disappeared over it. And of course, the stop sign's been long gone. But that's nothing new. It was in place 50 years ago, probably till 1965 or so. And the stop sign disappeared. And there is room for a tractor trailer there. It'd be on the east side of what used to be Mel's Auto Body. And the stop sign would be in the southwest corner of that turnaround. In other words, on the widest part of that pie-shaped triangle, which I think is town property. And I don't know how far Baker's land extends.
Nick, did you have a chance to look at it?
Well, as a matter of fact, Mr. Willett finished, and I think Mr. Marion's comments are obviously very appropriate. I do think that there's enough room there based on the map that was done in conjunction with Mel's Auto Body and the map, and he has some good historical perspective. You could do what he described. You could move the stop in the entryway and the sight line closer down a 90-degree angle, and so you wouldn't have to get any more land.
How about that big tree? Is that big tree on town property?
No, there's two trees on the remainder of that pie-shaped triangle, and there's some just there 150 feet from where that crossway should be.
So, I mean, I think it's
East
very
of it.
doable, and it would improve the sight line, and I was particularly, the whole thing was motivated by the fire station, the new fire station, and people coming out in emergency and heading, you know, to the other area, heading west, and you know, trying to get momentum and so forth. But I think his comment, his historical perspective is better than mine, but his comments are certainly appropriate, and if we can do a modification of that entryway to the sight line, we will accomplish what we should do because of the danger that existed now and in the past, and yet not infringe on the property rights of the people, the owners on Marycrest Drive. And only thing I would say for a little bit that I would urge that the matter not be, the Marycrest Drive not be changed relative to traffic either way, but that the town continue its study to make an adaptation in that corner for the benefit of everybody, including the fire department people, public, and anybody who would be going in that direction.
Would we have enough room to, if they made like a T intersection there for tractor trailer trucks and
Yeah.
to turn?
They can hit the widest point.
They can hit the widest point?
Yeah.
Okay, so there wouldn't be an issue
No.
if you kind of made it like a T intersection, Bob, and blocked it off, so the sight line would be good, you know, for cars coming.
It wouldn't be very expensive. They could use the recycled asphalt,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or even leave it processed gravel for a time. So
Yeah.
the stop sign would be critical, I think, you
Yeah.
know, at least facing 44.
Because I know I come out of there myself, and I spin the tires a little bit trying to get out, because I look to the right and I know I got a clear shot, but to the left, I got to move out of there quick. Well, you know that. You know
Oh, yeah.
that.
Couple more things. Any vehicles that use this road in either direction, of course, lessen the burden of the vehicles that end up at the 44 stoplight. They're going west, they avoid the stoplight. They're going east, usually they go straight or turn towards Thompson. You know, and, you know, it's not significant traffic, but it is traffic, and that light's always clogged. You know, you don't need any more. It would help. Now, there's 6 places with frontages on Marycrest Drive. from east to west, that's from Baker's heading towards Putnam, west. There's Baker's Auto Body, the dog grooming place, the daycare place, Fastenal, Busy Corner, and of course Mary Crest Farm. And all these places have access to Mary Crest Drive. And if any of that stuff is interrupted, it'll affect commerce, it'll affect the dignity of the people that own the frontage. Obviously, for reasons, whatever, pursuit of happiness, whatever. You know, so if it's ever altered, it'll affect all that stuff. The historical significance, over 200 years with no problems. You know, don't pin an idea like that on the folks that own the land. That's all I have to say.
Would there be further comment? Yes, sir.
Doug Wilpray, Putnam Preschool and Child Care. We are the daycare that he referred to. We're permitted to, our permit is based on pickup and drop off on Mary Crest Drive. I'm glad that he's going to reverse his opinion, because the problem that we have is about 90% of our parents would be forced to go down 44 to Baker and make a hairpin turn. That's 70 cars, 30 cars in the morning, 30 cars at night. You don't have a safety problem yet. You make it one way coming in that way, we'll have a safety problem. So that's, in the due diligence that was done, it's an instant no. You can't do it. Someone's going to get killed. One of our customers is going to get killed. We're going to lose people. And you want to make it safer? Don't do any heavy trucking on Mary Crest Drive. Ban the oil tankers that are headed for Safeway that come down at 50 miles an hour out of 44 from Providence, you know, tooting at the teachers, think it's funny, you know. You want to do something that'll make a difference. You know, Fastenal is mandatory. They got to have a truck. That's great. But those tankers come through there, I mean, that's a safety hazard. Our permit is to do that business there on Mary Crest, you know. It's a scary thing when they come through with 11,000 gallons of oil or gas and people trying to back up. And again, you know, it's always fun when they beep at the teachers and scare the hell out of the kids. I mean, that would also be something to think about. But at the end, they need to change that, clearly. But you can't do it.
Thank you. Further comments?
It'd be more scary if there was no oil.
Hey, we got Canada, don't worry.
I honestly, I've looked at this, and I've lived over here for a long time. I believe if we do go down and find that the town owns that triangle on the end, is to make a T to go out, make it wide enough so traffic coming from the other direction or this way, but also leave that straightaway open for vehicles coming in westbound to come in, instead of having to get them in front of Baker's, come to a slowdown and turn in there. It's easier, I leave that open and then also add that T. At one time, that's how the whole road worked anyway. The town used to plow that years ago. I remember when they plowed it. They pulled me out of the trench one time over there when I was a kid. But they, I would leave that straightaway open and then add that T to it.
And that's a good idea. Mr. Roulette, who's not here present, did echo that feeling, that there was that adaptation might help in by the flow of traffic and still, yeah, he...
Leave it open, don't block it off.
He was cooperating, he gave me some more information, some maps that what I was aiming at is just to see if it was doable, and I think that these gentlemen's suggestions are really worth something. And on the other hand, I don't want to minimize the traffic. We've already had serious situations where I wouldn't want us as a community not to take any action at all and to live with the risk of somebody being really injured there. So the degree of action is what we're talking about. Action should be taken, even if it's very moderate action based on these suggestions and observations. It shouldn't be just thrown away again because it's been there for 200 years, because it is dangerous as it is now.
Doug, could we work up a letter to Safeway Petroleum and note the situation that we have there, and that we've had complaints regarding the speed with the use of Mary Crest Drive?
I'd also be cautious if you're going to decide that you don't want to have certain trucks going down that road, because in the future, we don't know what's going to happen with some of that property out there. And if you limit truck traffic on it, it's going to affect the value of that property.
I just want them to slow down.
You know, I agree with that. I'm just saying, if you did, you know, I understand what you're saying, Doug, but if you put it down, you know, weight limits or anything on there, there's no bridges.
No.
You put any restrictions,
I just got
That's that
access.
road.
Put a speed limits on.
There's no enforcement.
Yes, yeah.
I've called Say by then.
Yep,
I'm in the trucking business, so I know a little bit about it. That's all.
but we need to put them on notice that we've had complaints regarding the speed in which they're driving on Marycrest Drive.
I am.
Thank you.
In the
Thank you all.
trucking business.
I agree.
Right, Alma's made a motion that we get this back to Jerry with the comments that have been made here this evening, and to see what can be done to reformat that area. I got a motion and a second. Comments? Further discussion?
If we get them now, we have the town meeting yet?
Well, anybody got a map?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah, but there is room, this is a map which is just.
The town of Bakersfield, Baker owns it.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, you can, I don't get the full map, but that was.
If he owned it, wouldn't he have blocked it off?
Never been used in 60 years.
Wouldn't he have blocked it off by now?
No,
Never been used. That cutoff point.
Yeah, I have a motion on the floor.
Two huge trees on it.
This would where it
But it's not in the way. It's a
Right,
good
exactly.
point.
No, what you could do is
Not in
get
the way.
Baker's A2 survey for his business, and that's an easy way
Way
to
down
find
the road
it.
from Vermont, it's a right before the board, that's where the slight crossover with South Line on the Valley board.
The Baker survey is not on file, that was run.
It's still used. Yeah, I was there, it's all empty, you know.
What's your qualification?
It's always at the same point. Yeah, it's nothing to do. Just be cautious, like crossing the river. You know, they'll be jumping out.
What
Flags
can be
down.
done is that I will
If
have.
you to the right, it's really
We've got the record.
up to its focus, it's a
Full
little
copies
bit
of
remote.
the plan, so that everyone along.
Yes, we have a motion and a second to get a note back to Jerry in regard to that intersection and see what can be done. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried.
And keep all the landowners informed.
Yep.
Through every rule we make.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we combine the library construction project? We only need one. We do, okay. All right, item A is the library construction project. Doug?
We don't have to go to.
We don't have to go.
Oh, we don't need it.
Is there anything, any updates or anything, Doug, that we can provide this evening with regard to the project? Nothing new.
Well, I was going to go into an explanation why we've had to put it on hold. If you want that explanation.
Well, we're not going to executive session now.
Is that
I don't think that's the case, that
What?
we're putting the whole thing on hold.
No, I'm just saying, I'll explain, if I have an opportunity, I'd
Yes.
like to be able to explain what we learned.
Can you pass it out?
I'm passing it out.
Sure.
Oh, I have that.
They're all the same thing.
Okay, let me explain. I was prepared to bring to the board of selectmen tonight a proposal to go to town meeting to go to referendum on the library project, with the town meeting being December 2nd and the referendum being December 17th. When I approached and discussed this with bond counsel, of course, I've been having an awful lot of contact with bond counsel recently. This is the latest statement of statutory debt limitation, and it's based on the current indebtedness that we've had undertaken. The other thing that it shows is that we have underlying tax district debt of $3,355,000. Under the schools, we have the full, unfortunately, because of the way it's considered, we have to consider the full value of the project, which is the $36 million that's been appropriated by the town. Even though we know that that is not going to be the final figure, but for purposes of this, we have to show the full $36.6 million, because we do not have the until we go through the entire project and we don't know what the reimbursement rate is, But until we go to permanent financing, that's when you know that you're actually going to only have whatever that net financing is on the school project. The other thing is in terms of the sewer, and again, the sewer is another particular situation, is that right now the obligations are the full faith and credit of the town of Putnam. They're GO, general obligation bonds, and at this point, and I think this is the total of all the projects, is going to be $16.8 million. And again, they netted out, and down below you'll see the grants, less the grants assessment, because we already know that we're going to get a grant from the USDA on the sewer, the lift station project. So that's netted out to $14.6 million. So you go across, you include the underlying debt from the East Putnam Fire Department, you include the full $36.6 million of the schools, and you include the net cost of $14.6 million, you come up to $54.6 million of the total debt that we've accumulated to this point. That's been obligated and been passed by the voters of the town of Putnam, or based on the East Putnam Fire District. So you go down below and you see the debt limitation of excess of outstanding indebtedness. You start out with our base figure of total debt that's allowed, and that's a calculation of our base, which is our tax collection rate of $9 million, a little bit more than $9 million, times whatever is allowed, and you come up with that $63.1 million total debt limitation for all categories: general purposes, schools, sewers, urban renewal, and pension obligation. So when you do that, and then you come up with the total indebtedness for debt limitation calculation of what we already have obligated by the town, you come up with $54.6 million, leaving you with the remainder of almost $8.5 million. Our bond counsel is concerned that doesn't, if you go forward with the school library project, with the library project, that doesn't leave you any room for any types of emergency debt limitation. Now, we had our discussion with bond counsel, and the chairman of the library building committee was there, George Stangier, and we also had it with Dennis Dix, our financial advisor. And it was on their recommendation, after some calculation and some discussion with Moody's, that Moody's is comfortable in the fact that they realize that the school is that's not the total cost for the school project. They also realize that the $14.6 million of the sewer project, that's being paid for by the WPCA. So based on his discussion with Moody's, they're saying that they're not really going to count that against the town in terms of their rating of the town. And they're also going to realize that that $36 million is going to be reduced significantly by the reimbursement rate from the state. So that being the case, it was their recommendation that we should go forward in terms of getting a rating from Moody's for this particular project. And the rationale for that is that if we go forward with this and the town should determine that they want to go forward with the library project, and we don't do it without a rating, and we start to see our interest costs significantly increase based on this situation, and when we go to the school project, and when you go through a school project where we'd be left with a net of maybe borrowing $20 million or $60 million, that would cause some considerable cost to the town. So it was their contention to slow down. And again, this is going to be a policy determination by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, that you slow down and consider that you should go forward, first of all, get a rating from Moody's for this particular issuance. And then it has to be, that rating has to be done after we have our final audit in place for the June 30th, 2013. So I've asked our finance director how soon we're going to have the thing, if we're going to have any extensions, and right now we've been assured that this is going to be, the audit's going to be completed on time, which is December 30th, then December 31st, and then we'd be able to get a rating. And in the meantime, we would do our necessary due diligence in terms of putting the information together that we have available. One of the things they want to see is that we have 3 years audited of our collections by the WPCA in terms of being able to meet all their debt obligations of principal and interest. That's an easy one to show, because what they had done is they went ahead and they had already acted upon and put in a phase increase in their rates over a period of time. And until that would be ready when the final financing came in place for the various projects. So they built up a little bit of kitty, which will be reflected favorably with the rating agencies. The other thing that we have is the over $4 million that we have in the ash landfill account. So that's going to count favorably for the town. So with that being the case, it was something that we wanted to bring to the Board of Selectmen for your consideration. We're prepared to have a town meeting call for you tonight in terms of going forward with the purchase of the land, and then get the land at least under our belts, and then at the point where we're ready to get a rating from the Moody's or Standard & Poor's, S&P or Fitch, whatever the one we decide, is then go forward with the library project. And again, it's going to be on the basis that we're in great financial shape, and but until you have that rating, you really don't know what your bonding costs are going to be.
Doug, how come we didn't have a rating before? Usually towns are rated all the time.
We just didn't have, we didn't
have any debt list.
We didn't
have the permit. The thing is, when we go forward with a permanent, because we're getting USDA, that really doesn't need to have a rating.
Right.
But when you go forward with general obligation bonds, then you need to get a rating. And when the school, you're really going to have permanent financing under GO.
Would they count a surplus? We're at 3.4 million.
That would be another very favorable indicator.
But they would only use it as
Well, first of all, we increased the rate that we want to have set aside of 10%. So that was another good thing that we did. And then above that, we have more in our general fund.
General surplus.
General surplus.
Yeah.
To what extent do we think this will affect our ability to get loans from the state for the library going forward? Because there will be some amount of delay.
I thought it was a 3-year. 2-year?
Yeah. So
we're not going to delay
all?
this forever. We're expecting to bring this back probably in February.
Okay, so it shouldn't really affect that.
Well, once we get the approval of the grant, which we expect by the end of the month,
Okay, that's okay.
we have 2 years to use it.
Okay. Good.
Now, if we're this tight on now, what about when we decide to do this tech bond? Don't we have to bond for that?
Yes, we will. So that's another thing, that once we get our rating, I think the baseline is going to be is that once we get our rating, and they're going to give us a rating based on what they feel is the shape, the financial shape of the town of Putnam, and we're going to be in good shape. Again, it's a matter of the comfort that the selectmen and Board of Finance are going to feel in terms of going forward with this amount of bonded indebtedness.
If we do the library project, isn't that going to put it like a limit now? So what about when you decide you want to do the infrastructure going to the YMCA?
When you get the rating, you're going to take that, whatever we have for the high school, and knock it down in half to what it actually will be.
You're going to gain about $20 million.
Just like that.
But that's not going to come until, well, actually, we're getting reimbursed as the project goes. So as that construction project goes, the state of Connecticut reimburses us. So that we're going to be knocking down that the final bond for indebtedness that we'll have to get. And the other thing is they're not going to count the 14.6 million against the town in terms of the sewer. The other thing is we have, as you know, we have an agreement in place between the WPCA and the town in terms of, we don't have a sinking fund per se, and a sinking fund is where the WPCA takes the funds that they need for the principal and interest on these projects and set that aside solely for that purpose. But because they're an enterprise fund, one of the feelings of our bond counsel and our finance advisors, that is really not necessary because they can only use those funds for whatever purposes. And
on a reserve, what did the bond counsel recommend for a reserve, and what do they have for a reserve for WPCA? Maybe Bob Gossett. I mean, what what do they count for reserve, bond council that they're comfortable with? 10% of their operating budget, 50% of their operating?
It's more,
In other words,
it's more a calculation of how much they're, what they have to do in terms of the amortization schedule that they have for all these projects.
Right.
So he had a great comfort level because we went back and we looked at the, even though it's unaudited, but we went back to our previous audited financial report and the unaudited result. And we are building up a considerable reserve in both the water and the sewer side.
Okay.
So we're up to about $1.5 million right now on both the combination of the water and sewer side.
And the payments are going to be what a year?
I think approximately $400,000
$400,000
for each side. More, I'm sorry, more so on the sewer side because of the $18.8 million.
You mentioned East Putnam Fire Department. How does that?
Any special service district, if it was a special service district or the fire department, it's calculated as underlying debt with the town of Putnam.
I understand that, but when they approved it, we didn't need to vote on the special service district, we just needed East Putnam.
That's
to
correct.
approve it.
That's
But when it came to the sewer, you needed the whole town.
Do you need the whole town? No, it came to water, we need the whole
The
town.
water,
Right.
not the sewer.
Not the sewer. By state statute, we were required to have the water rates approved by the entire town. And the other thing you notice is the
Not
water
the rates, I'm talking about the bonding and stuff. Did we?
We had to approve both.
Right.
Both the sewer and the water had to be approved by the entire
By
town.
the entire town, but we didn't have to.
But
do
the
that
water
for the
rates
fire
were,
station.
had to be approved by the,
But that didn't need to be done for the fire station,
no,
just the district.
no, it's just considered underlying debt for the town. Not that we're responsible for it, but it has to be included as underlying.
Okay.
I imagine if, everything went south on the East Putnam Fire Department,
Would be one
we might be liable.
Because I know if that happens with the WPCA, the whole town pays for it.
We whole town.
Services, they're paying.
But if that were the case, we'd go in and we'd collect the fees.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yes. George?
Doug, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the key point here is with what Mr. Dix had to say, and he's the guy who's doing the Moody's work, so you've got, I think the key is that the town's in great shape. We need to secure a good Moody's credit rating, and that Moody's will understand that the 3.3 for the fire department isn't necessarily town, it says East Putnam taxpayers debt, water and sewer, there's water and sewer debt, customer debt. So those numbers come down considerably.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
So, if you want, we can bring the purchase of the land to the town meeting, and that's what we're recommending.
I need a motion on the floor to bring the purchase of the proposed land for the library. I have motion and second. Almer and Renee, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Grading of the property purchase?
Yes.
Yes.
For town meeting.
This piece across the road?
Right.
Yes.
The library only?
No, municipal purposes.
Municipal purposes.
Yes.
So, what kind of municipal purpose?
Motion and a second, further discussion. All those in favor? Oops, I'm
Would
sorry.
have to go, would that have to go to referendum?
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Anything over
voting on.
250.
50,000, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Item D is approval of bills. What would be your pleasure? Second. Have motion and second discussion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? So carried. All of the business to lawfully come before such meeting. Would there be anything further?
We have to go into executive.
We have to go into executive session. I understand. Item 12 is public comment. Would there be further public comment this evening? Yes, sir.
One again, and I was at they had a nice show for the library. They had the architecture there, and we had certain discussions back and forth on whatnot. And I know we're spending like $7.5 million. We're going to get, as George says, $1 million grant. The only issue I saw was at peak time, there could be an issue with the amount of parking we have at the facility. At peak time, you may have 150 people in the building. And would that be enough? I guess we only had, what, 60 blank parking spaces, is that true?
We said 67, I think the architect said 80.
When I'm fully in favor of the library, okay? But to me, if you're gonna be spending that kind of money, you should have enough parking spaces for the peak time, so that you don't have to carry on onto Church Street, or have that area sometimes not available to you because of large wakes or whatnot. But I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make, if you spend $7.5 million, you should have enough parking spaces for that facility on site. You shouldn't have to worry about getting parking at another road, whatever it may be, Church Street, Kennedy Drive, I don't know, wherever you want to say. That's my only thing with regard to the site itself. I mean, I saw the structure looks beautiful and everything, but we don't own the other parcel on the other side of it, which is what, is that like a half an acre or something like that?
There's another acre. Are you talking about the brick building?
Yeah.
There's a good number of acres.
Yeah. See, so that's,
Thank you, sir.
that's the problem.
Would there be further public comment this evening? Yes.
To expound upon Peter's concern about the parking, as Liz Thompson, Linda Garcia, 300 Walnut Street, as Liz Thompson said about the direction that zoning and parking is going in, from the line of the song Paved Paradise, put up a parking lot. You know, we live in paradise, so the direction that parking lots are going in, you don't want to build the parking lot for Easter Sunday. You want to build the parking lot to have the average amount. So when Easter Sunday comes or Hanukkah comes, you want to have enough so that there is, you don't want to have all this asphalt. So we do have a agreement with the synagogue that we can use their parking lot, or that we can use Church Street, or that, you know, people can actually walk a couple blocks. If you were, those of us who ever have ventured outside of Putnam and have gone to, say, Boston or New York or Providence, if you ever were so lucky as to get a free parking spot 2 blocks from someplace and had to walk, you'd be clicking your heels, you know, that's all you had to get somewhere. So, you know, the presumed parking problem that we have in Putnam, you know, if you can't park 10 feet from the spot where you want to go, you know, it's all relative problem. So I'd hate to see everything asphalted over. I think 67 parking spots is plenty, and it'll work for everything. If there's a big funeral, it'll help the funeral. If there's a big Hanukkah or whatever we'll all help each other. So I don't think that's an issue, you know.
Normally speaking, it won't be an issue.
Yeah, I don't think it would be. Most of the days, they won't be. So.
Yes, sir.
David Denholm, 85 Van Dale Street. Yeah, I'm just curious, as far as the acquisition of the real estate that you're going in the executive session, is that correct?
No.
What?
No, not the library, David, no.
So, all right, so what was the final outcome of that? It kind of moved a little quickly for me.
It's going to referendum.
It's going to go to referendum.
And when was that going to occur?
December 17th.
And the referendum will state, can you help me out?
It will ask the people of Putnam whether or not they'll allow us to go ahead and purchase the property.
All right, for municipal purposes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of a broad category. Does anyone have any suggestions or ideas other than the library?
No.
No. So.
I think it's just the wording we have to use.
Yeah, just the word. Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I just want to know, what the little nuances are.
Yeah.
And that has to be approved by the public to acquire the property.
That's right.
And is there any other plans for purchasing additional property other than that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Not at this time.
No. And nothing else is on the table at this time, David. George?
Peter, George Tangeris, Chairman of the Southern Exploratory Library Committee. I'm just wondering, as far as the fund balances we have, is there a place for us to take this money as a something that we don't have to go out and borrow for, and we have all this money in different accounts? Is it?
Can I borrow the money to fund the library?
Yeah,
without going out to bonding on it?
Yeah, exactly.
Then I think you'd strap us or put us in a position again, George, where we wouldn't have any operating income.
We're talking about just the land acquisition.
Oh, we're all set.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that when we go to referendum, we talk to people in terms of, we're not borrowing this money, and we have this money in-house.
The way I'm sorry you don't have the town meeting call, the way the town meeting call is worded is that it would come out of the Ashland account, we would pay it back at 1%.
Yeah.
And they'll pay back.
Now, the only thing, I just want to jump on what Linda said, and Liz has always been a very good student. The responsible growth patterns is really changing in this millennium, and it's really about libraries should be built for people and not for cars. So I don't think that that should really be the hindering component of it. But I would recommend two things. Number one is that you have some kind of agreement with the synagogue just to make sure that you can park there. And the other thing is to ask the architect, because just to protect the quality of the river, because the plan of conservation development does state things, is just look at some kind of permeable type or rain gardens, that kind of thing. But again, libraries should be built for people and not for cars.
We get a great deal of walking traffic as it is, and I can't see that
And
walking traffic changing.
to encourage people to walk to the library is the best thing that could happen.
Scott Pembeck, 95 Muddles Road. I just have one concern on the bond rating, and I asked this question when we were going, it was high school. I asked, how come we're not rated? And at that time, the answer I got was because our per capita income was so low that it would hinder our rating.
No.
So,
Until you have a project and permanent financing that you're required, you don't need a rating. As you can see, when we get temporary borrowing, we're doing
yeah, we're doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I was told point blank, because I'm like, why aren't we rated? Because I was trying to do
You
the
don't get rated
calculations.
until you actually have to do the permanent
And they
financing.
said that because our per capita income was low, it would hinder our ratings.
Because then you're going to know,
You got it covered.
once you know what your amount is of permanent financing, that's
Then
when
you
you go
back
get the
into
rating, you get the rating, you sell your
bonds on the market. Yeah, I know where.
Okay.
Thank you.
George?
Just again, as far as this rating goes, and I was in at the meeting, and I think Mr. Dix, I think there's some talk about, a very good rating of A2 or better, or, so the town's in great shape. And
Yeah, we don't anticipate
we should
any
see a
problems.
really good bond rating there.
But to Scott's comment, the only thing that is usually is the problem in terms of towns like Putnam is our social economic, it's our per capita income. That's the only thing that draws us down. But we'll try as hard as possible to convince them that the way Putnam is going, first of all, we had an increase in population. We went where we were down from one census to the next, then we increased by 500. I think our per capita, while not increasing significantly, did increase to a certain degree. So I think based on all the things, the factors that we had, and when we talked to bond counsel and also our financial advisor, they were impressed with this situation of the financial state of the town. So credit to the Board of Selectmen, credit to the Board of Finance in terms of how they've marshaled the town to this point, where we get I think we're going to get a very good credit rating.
For the public, yes, sir.
Yeah, Lidone again here at 85 Glendale. I just want to, once again, address what Norman's question was at the beginning of the meeting regarding the infrastructure of the tech park, and that the funding for it has not been procured, and this has been going on for 4 years. I think this is the type of problem that gets me into this meeting. This is just too long. I mean, if you're going to plan a project like this, you have to have your ducks in order, and that seems to be sufficient time to at least get some numbers and some verification on this. And that's it. you know, and I hope I don't have to come back and ask that question again, that, you know, this is resolved by the next meeting or shortly thereafter.
Very good, thank you.
Now, this referendum, is it going to be all day?
12 to 8.
12 to 8, noon up, okay.
2 districts.
2 districts, good.
I got saw George's hand go first.
No, I think it was up to...
I'm sorry.
John Perry, 11 Bow Street. My neighbor brought up about the poles on the street. Whoever made the decision to switch sides of the street didn't really look at the whole picture. You moved the vehicles to my side of the street, which has 5 driveways, and on the other side of the street there's only 2 driveways. And anyways, people park on both sides of the street anyway.
John, just to give you, that had nothing to do with this board, it has to do with the special services.
I've been arguing with Ricky over this. I said, when you made Barrow Street one way, you should have made Bowl Street one way. Because the traffic...
But that's, you know, something you should bring up with him.
Well, I'm going to, because I'm also getting tired of a neighbor's son almost blocking my driveway every time he comes to visit his mother.
Again, that has nothing to do with the Board of Selectmen this evening, but I appreciate the comment.
The other thing, I have another issue. Why the parking lot, you had barriers up. My wife wants to thank you for those 30 days. We were at ease. Now the barriers are gone, the parking lot is back in chaos again.
Yeah, again, as you know, you're in litigation with that, so it's not something that I want to be able to openly discuss at
And the
this
other
point.
thing is, they mentioned about when I take care of my other side of the house, that I'm cutting town lawn. Once again, my neighbors gave the wrong information. He is also cutting town property. So they contradict you. They only say what they want you to hear, but it seems like they're running the whole show in this town. Maybe the town should change the name to the town of Michigan.
Yeah, right now, you know, it is in litigation. Thank you, one and all. I'm sorry, Linda?
I had a question, Linda Garcia, 300 Walnut Street, what the progress is on the issue of the right to first refusal and the Wheelabrator land.
No, after the meeting's done?
Yeah.
Our executive session.
We're going to executive session to discuss that subject tonight.
Is there any?
But I'm not at liberty to discuss it with you at this point.
So just, does Putnam even own this land yet?
No.
So, why is Putnam discussing it? If it's between Wheelabrator and the people who, why is it a Putnam issue?
There's two issues. One is the agreement between Wheelabrator and the Newts, or the right of first refusal. The second is the agreement between the town and Wheelabrator over the transfer of the property to the town.
What was the second one?
The transfer of the property from Wheelabrator to the town, which is an agreement that's been in various stages of drafting since I don't know how long.
Right, but if Part A hasn't happened yet, why is the town involved with it at all? You know what I mean?
Well, the way it will work is if we enter an agreement with Wheelabrator, they have to have assurances that they've worked out their part of the...
Right.
But you see what I'm saying? If we don't even, if Wheelabrator and the News haven't worked it out yet, why is it Putnam's business yet until that has happened? And this executive session after executive session after executive session, I presume involving, you know, our time and maybe money, has happened over and over and over, and you know, it's not even something that we own yet. So, I don't know, it just seems curious.
Well, we have interest in it. We're into that piece of property by the tune of $785,000.
Well, yes, exactly my question, exactly my question.
Yeah, we have a lot of lawyers.
And we don't even own it yet. And we don't even own it yet. We don't, you know, so that's my question.
Do you have something to, after our executive session? Nothing yet? Okay.
So-
I appreciate the question, Linda, I don't have an answer for you. We seem to be drawing closer and closer to being able to have something, we get a little closer.
That close, Tony?
Yeah.
That close?
So, no answer yet. Okay, thank you.
I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the topic of the Quinnebog Regional Technology Park and Bridge.
So moved.
I would like to invite Tony in.
No. Amended, so amended. Yep.
I tried to.
Tony, you come in, baby.